just been acres and acres of charred timber. Captain Sabo tells me that right up over that next ridge we'll see the home of Walt and Barb Digman. We're at another location now in the Battlecreek fire. This is the garage of Walt and Barb. Gordon, you were here at the height of the battle. What was it like?
Yeah, we came in probably 20 minutes or so, I suppose. We were here before we told you it was time to definitely evacuate. The fire was down the canyon below us here, and it was crowning and running both ridges. After a matter of probably 5 or 10 minutes, it looked like it was going to totally encircle this residence and all the buildings here. So that was when I asked Walt to take his family and head for safe ground, which he did, and then we went ahead and started applying Barricade at that point in time.
Sounds like the right move. Did you apply Barricade here?
I did not apply Barricade here. I didn't have enough. I had to make some hard, fast choices to protect this structure or protect the house. I had enough to do one or the other. I chose to protect the house. I wished I'd had a little bit. I thought this building would probably stay under its own will, but the radiant heat must have got in through the back or something. And
Walt, we're sorry for the obvious loss here, but the good news is we got a very nice residence. Let's go take a look at it. Walt, even before we get to the house, we found another structure, another outbuilding that you've lost. This is on the other side of the house from the first one that you've lost.
That's exactly what we were faced with on this fire. It was burning on 3 sides of the house. As it moved down in here, you know, you had buildings burning on both sides of the home. The radiant heat, the crown fires, the trees torching. We've got oak trees here that we consider to be fairly fire resistive in comparison to the ponderosa pines.
Right.
And we've got those torched and scorched clear across the creek.
This is a beautiful log home you built here, Walt. Oh, here's Barb. Hi, Barb. Same thing as in a lot of the other houses we saw, the heat traps, the overhangs.
Exactly. That's what we did. We came in, we gelled the sides, we gelled the heat traps, the decks, the porch, the overhangs, everything that we could do to keep the heat traps from being a problem for us. We had the wood here, of course, we coated that right down to the grass line. As we continue on around the house, there's more heat traps and overhangs. And you can see off to the right here how close the fire actually got to the house and how intense it was. We had 10-foot flame lengths to 20-foot flame lengths. Just shortly up the hill there, we had 40, 50 to 100-foot flame lengths.
Did it get to the point where you just couldn't stay here any longer?
Absolutely. We gelled it and stayed until we couldn't breathe very well. And we could see that the heat was really going to get intense, so we pulled our crews out for safety.
Yeah, that's something that we're stressing in our education is, you know, coat it and get out of there. And that's what you did.
It's great stuff. It worked really well for us.
There was fire on 3 sides of it, and like I said, across the dam you can see where the heat was so intense that it scorched the trees, which is further away than the fire was behind the house, and we don't have one scorch mark. We don't have no tin on our roof is discolored, nothing. No, you can't even tell a fire has gone by there.
I can't imagine anybody living in the woods in this type of environment and with this stuff being available, not having it on their shelf ready to go.
I agree.
I know I sleep better at night knowing that, you know, worst comes to worst and it happens again. That put it on and leave, not have to worry about it.
Yep.
It's made a believer out of me. I mean, there's no way this should be standing here.
We're glad you're fine. We're glad your family's fine. You have a beautiful home, a beautiful family, and we're glad you're still here and your home's still here.
Glad
Thanks.
you made this tougher.
Thanks for your comments today. Appreciate it.
Well, 5 years ago, I started looking at ways to do better structure protection. And I came up with and I looked at a product called Barricade, which was fire blocking gel, which was one of the first companies that came out. And I looked at it and said, how does that compare to Class A foam? Well, I think it takes us beyond Class A foam. What it does, it has better insulating values. It insulates better than Class A foam. We don't have the drain time problem where it wants to return to water like Class A foam does. It sticks better to vertical surfaces, and it allows us to do a lot more than we could do before. It allows us to go in and treat houses ahead of the flaming front and then move out to a safe zone as the fire starts to move through. And what that does is it keeps firefighters out of harm's way, and we get more And what happens is we get saves of houses that were undefendable before. So all in all, I think it takes us beyond Class A foam.
They sent us into the Klondike subdivision. I went in there with my group. I was a strike team leader of 5 engines. We went down in there, and virtually we didn't think we had a chance of saving those homes. They were pretty heavily timbered, a lot of debris and brush up close to the homes. We thought we were probably going to be whipped there. I made a call out and asked for all the Barricade that was available, and we came up with 4 cases of Barricade. And we brought them down there and we put them on the lower houses that were first threatened minutes before the fire hit. As that fire progressed, we backed our way out, jumping from house to house because it was just too intense. The firefighter couldn't survive down there. So we kept backing out and gelling homes as we were coming out of there. Then we went back to the fire camp that evening, and we kind of all got together every night and talked about our war wounds and see who lost houses and who didn't and see how we fared for the day. And I had to kind of hang my head in shame because I felt pretty certain that I'd lost 3 homes in the Klondike area. Nobody could get back in there to see until the next morning because it was just too intense and burned so hot in there. The next morning we went in, and lo and behold, every structure that we put Barricade on came through unscathed. They all survived wonderfully. But we could stand out there on the road and we could hear explosions. We could see fire flaring up, all kinds of freight train-like sounds with the fire crowning up both ridges at the same time as well as coming up through the bottom of the draw. It was an inferno. We didn't think that anything in that draw would survive or stand for it. But it did. The barricaded structures stayed.
This fire was a very significant fire, the Battlecreek fire. It had the potential for great structure loss, and the firefighters were able to not lose a single structure. We lost a few outbuildings, but we didn't lose any structures. And what happened is, I know of 7 homes that the firefighters went in and coated with the fire blocking gel, and we had successful outcomes on all 7 homes. The use of gel was well worth the $130,000 investment the state made, because all our firefighters in the Black Hills are using the product, and $130,000 is not much money when we're talking about saving 1 home, and we saved 7 homes with the product, and that $130,000 investment was well worth it. We have National Institute of Standards has done testing on the product, but there's a lot of testing done and the results are published, and it's done in a controlled atmosphere. Well, I think this product is proven itself quite well because, like I say, I've been following it for 5 years. If you look at 1998, it did well in saving homes in the Canadian fires, the Florida fires of '98, the 2000 fires in the Bitterroot Valley in Montana. That was one of the biggest gel deployments to date, and lots of homes were saved in the Bitterroot Valley in Montana. And then again in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, in the Green Knoll fire, it was used extensively again and had good results. And it was used here successfully on the Battlecreek fire. So I think we've really moved way beyond the controlled testing that was done in laboratories. We've actually field tested, and that's why I'm happy with the product. That's why I bought it, because for the state, because it's not just another test in a laboratory. The laboratory was the fire ground.
The firefighters in South Dakota used Barricade in a unique and successful way. They coated the houses. When they had to leave, they were able to retreat to a safer area, and as you've seen, the houses were still standing when it was safe to come back into that neighborhood. Barricade represents a new and exciting tool in the fire service. We're just beginning to realize the real potential of this new technology. Not only will we be able to save houses with it in the future, it'll allow us to do controlled burns in a safer manner. Any exposure protection problem that any fire department faces will be able to do that job more safely with Barricade Fire Blocking Gel.